Give a hand to Magnabosco.
That was the best welcome I think I've ever received. And I think this is the largest audience I've spoken to today. So thank you so much. I feel so welcome here. All right. Oh, good. Good to see you. Awesome. So I'm here today to talk to you about, like my intro was saying, a different way of approaching believers in a way that's more effective. It's an effective way of talking to a believer so that it doesn't shut them down and cause them to be more defensive. How many people here, just by a show of hands, are familiar in any way with street epistemology? Can you just, whoa, wow, that's like 3/4 of the room. You guys have your act together. This is good, this is good, okay. Wow, that's great. So I'm here to talk to you today that because we have this relatively new technique, there are no more excuses to back away from a conversation with a believer. Because you're going to see, I'll actually show you some videos where I talk to a woman who believes in karma, and later a man who believes that prayer works. And one thing that I hope that you take away from the talks is that they're enjoying it. They're really loving the introspection, and I'm just asking random people on the street. And I think you'll really enjoy that. We're going to go all over street epistemology. You're going to learn about the origin of it. You're going to learn about some of the things to watch out for. What makes a good conversation where you're using street epistemology. And is that better? Okay. One of the things I like to do in my talks is show some examples on the screen of a typical conversation between a believer and the street epistemologist or the atheist who is using these techniques. And I wanted to mix it up a little bit. People have been asking, can we do a role play? Those are so hit or miss in a live presentation. I just don't want to do that. But what I thought would be sort of a good compromise is I'm going to ask you to think of a good conversation that you've had with a believer, somebody that really believed in a God or karma or whatever, and think of the most sincere thing that they told you. And I'm going to say the response that the typical atheist might give, and then give the response that somebody that's using the Socratic method of street epistemology might give, okay? So we'll do that. I call that the yelling game. And I want to end the talk on showing that this approach is not only making a dent in the atheist community. There are believers, apologists. You know what an apologist is? They have a career where they defend the belief. They're getting worried. They're a little worried about this technique because they're seeing the effectiveness of it. And I want to show you a little video clip of that too. Oh, and then we're going to end with a Q&A. So if you can, even during the yelling game portion of it, if you can just stick to that plan, and I'll answer any questions that you have at the end. And I want to try to cruise through these fairly quickly because I think the Q&A portion is the best part of these talks, quite frankly. Okay, so I wouldn't be here today talking to you about this if it wasn't for Dr. Peter Boghossian, and I understand that he was here talking to your group before he wrote this book called A Manual for Creating Atheists. One thing that tends to get lost in the title is that it gives the impression that we're trying to create atheists and proselytize for atheism, and that's not the main message of the book. The main message of the book is that we are surrounded by people that believe things possibly for bad reasons. And if they're believing in something for a bad reason, we want to help them. And the book lays out beautifully this technique that we're going to just really unpack and uncover quite a bit of detail. Okay, so what is street epistemology? So many people here are familiar with it, so I kind of talking to the choir, it seems like a little bit, but there's a few people like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay, so street epistemology it's a dialectical technique for conversing with a believer in a way that doesn't close them down and cause them to be defensive. A typical conversation between a God believer and an atheist they're pretty contentious, they're arguing, people are yelling, right? Tempers are flaring, and no minds are usually changed. Okay? In fact, what we know happens in a one-on-one conversation is the person that you're arguing with tends to double down on the belief that they hold. And that's called the backfire effect. Get to that here. Okay. When I first started doing this about 2.5, 3 years ago, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I thought that I'm just going to go out and argue with people, and I'm going to tell them that faith is a horrible way to come to know that things are true, and I'm going to change all these minds and change the world. And what ended up happening is I just made things worse. I was yelling at people, I was arguing, and it just blew up in my face. And I was recording those conversations from the very start. So if you're at all interested in the journey that I've been on, you can just go to my channel and see those instances where I was yelling at street preachers. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, evolution is a fact. And it took several times of reading the book and getting involved with other people that are having these types of conversations to get that feedback and realize that, oh my goodness, I was doing everything completely wrong. Okay. One of the other common misconceptions about street epistemology is that you have to go out on the street and initiate talks. That's not at all what you have to do. I like doing it because I want to get practice. Now, I do live in San Antonio, Texas. I'm surrounded by believers. Surrounded. I could wait for these opportunities to happen, but it would probably take me a long time to get to the level that I'm at now. So I initiated talks. I would go out, and I still do. In fact, I'm going to probably do this in Reno when I go out there, maybe even at the, is it the University of San Jose? San Jose State, yeah. Might go out there with my camera on Friday. I like to just start conversations with people. And more often than not, the people that I ask if they want to talk, they're excited to talk to me, even though I have a camera on and I'm recording it. And then I share my encounters online. So I do initiate dialogues, but you don't have to. You can wait for these moments to happen the next time you're at your family's house for Thanksgiving or something like that. Those always go good. One of the main objectives of Peter Boghossian's book in Street Epistemology is to uncover how people come to know what they think they know. That's where the epistemology comes in. It's the study of knowledge. It's how people arrive at beliefs. From countless conversations with believers, and you probably can reflect on your own experiences as well, maybe even personally or just the conversations that you've had. Most believers, when you ask them, why do you believe that that's true? They might say evidence, they might say miracles, they might say, I have a personal experience with Jesus. But as you keep talking to them, almost always, it comes down to faith as the reason why they think they know it's true. So uncovering the root cause of a person's belief is very important. If you do have a conversation with a believer and they say, and you're talking for 30 minutes and they finally say, well, it's really just faith. And sometimes it's the first thing they say. Don't give up on a person that says they believe something because of faith, even though many of us in this room will probably agree that faith is not a reliable way to come to know something to be true. Don't give up on them. Okay. Instilling doubt. This is another major premise of Boghossian's book. I think doubt is a great thing. But a lot of believers are afraid of doubt. They're taught at a very early age that doubt is bad, that questioning this deeply held belief that you were raised with, and you can go to hell if you don't believe it. That's a very scary thing to overcome. But myself and probably many people in this room, I would imagine, see doubt as something beneficial. Asking questions, admitting that you don't know something. And when we have conversations with believers, and I've talked to a lot of atheists, and one of the things, whenever you ask the question, what's the most annoying thing you find about believers? Typically the answer is the smugness that they have and the certainty that what they're believing in is true. And I agree. It's probably the thing that frustrates me the most is that sort of self-righteous assertiveness that they have something that you don't, and they're better off because of it. So instilling doubt is one of the main objectives of street epistemology. And we want to change minds. I should also say that I'm not asserting that I know the truth. I'm not out to give answers to the people that I talk to, but merely see if they have the answers. And if they don't, possibly encourage them to go out to find better reasons for holding their own belief. Okay? I love this picture here. I'm going to share this with you. Somebody there are about 3,000 people that are in a private group on Facebook, and somebody drew this. And I just love this. This is just a great metaphor for this approach. When we have a conversation with somebody, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes using this technique, it's very rare that you might see a complete abandonment of a belief. Now, I have some videos where people come close, and I'm going to show you some examples here. I think it'll blow your mind. But the idea here is to plant a seed or to put a pebble in a person's shoe. Have a conversation with them, get them thinking. If you're going to argue with them and present counter-apologetics, like most atheists do, there's no chance they're going to walk away thinking about the talk. But we want to have them think about it, and we want to have those questions nag at them so they can think about it and perhaps find better reasons, or maybe even lower their confidence in the belief. Ultimately, though, we don't want to harm people. We want to help. We realize many of the people that are using street epistemology are former believers, and there are even some believers that are catching on to this technique and like, this is great, I think this will be great when I have a conversation. I'm a Catholic and I think, I want to start going out and talking to Mormons. Okay, well that's interesting. Or they can use this, they say they're going to use the technique and we'll see if they do or not, but it'll be interesting. But ultimately, we don't want to harm anybody. I've had a couple conversations with people where within the first few minutes it became apparent that they need this belief. They would cause harm to themselves or possibly other people if they were to abandon the belief that Jesus is wrapping his loving arms around them. And so you have to be somewhat careful with the technique. We don't want to cause any harm. Okay. Touched on this just a little bit. Atheists generally ridicule believers. I mean, let's be honest, we do. Oh, we do. I probably did it 3 times today when I was talking to you before I talked. But we have to remind ourselves that in a one-on-one conversation, ridiculing the believer, telling them that they're stupid, telling them that they don't know anything about science, or read a science book, or watch Cosmos or something, that's not going to help them. It's going to cause them to shut down and result in the backfire effect, which is what I talked about earlier. Street epistemology is also wonderful for a variety of techniques. And the first video that I want to show you, we'll do the yelling game next, but after that I want to show an example where it's a young woman who believes in karma. To show the diversity of the technique. It's not just for talking to Christians about Jesus. And it's not just talking about religious claims. I've had some of the most interesting conversations I've had with people using street epistemology have been with atheists that believe supernatural things. I've had talks with people about open carry, Texas. Maybe you have that issue here, I don't know. So open carry, abortion, ghosts, aliens, so a lot of supernatural claims, politics, that type of thing. I would love to go to like Donald Trump rally or a Bernie Sanders rally and have these questions, start asking these questions. Okay. Now I've never done this in a talk before, so I don't know quite how this is going to go. But what I'd like to do, and reminder, questions and answers we'll do at the end. But for the purpose of this point of the talk, I'd like you to think of a conversation you've had with a believer, and what was the reason why they said they believe. And you can raise your hand, I'll call on you, and then I'll repeat it. And then I'm going to say what the typical atheist response would be, and then what a more thoughtful, possibly street epistemology response would be. Okay, right here in the center in the blue.
Hi, I'm a typical believer. I believe that if I'm not Christian and I don't believe, then what's the harm in believing? Because either I'm going to go to hell or I'm going to go to heaven. And if I don't believe, then pass goes away.
Okay, so the believer says, it's not going to hurt if I believe it. Hey, if I die and it's not true, then what harm is it? Okay, but if I don't believe it and it turns out to be true, then I'm in real trouble. Well, the typical atheist response would be to point out that that's Pascal's wager, and that's just you're making a silly bet, and to possibly insult them for giving maybe one of the weakest arguments that a theist might give. A more reflective response might be something like, it's really interesting that you believe that. Is that something that you've always felt as true, or is it something that you just recently come up with? Okay, or you can say, do you think somebody in India might be making the same wager with the Hindu god Vishnu? Okay, and just a dialogue, just a question. You don't want to shut them down. Okay, in the back, somebody raise their hand.
It just makes me feel good.
It just makes you feel good. Okay. So does cocaine. Don't do that. Okay, that would be the typical atheist response, possibly. The street epistemology response might be something like, do all beliefs that make us feel good end up being true? Okay. Catching on here a little? Yes, ma'am.
I know that God exists because he has blessed us with wealth.
Ah. I know that God exists because he has blessed us with wealth. Typical atheist response. Help me out. What would a typical...
Read your own Bible.
Read your own Bible. We might make some quote about the camel going through the eye of the needle or something, possibly, maybe thinking. I might come back with sort of the street epistemology side of that is there a specific dollar amount is there a break point? Like, is after $1 million, is it more true or less true? Okay. So, if you're not catching on there, the idea here is to not insult the person, keep it somewhat light and open, but get them to think about, well, how do I know that this is actually true? I want to show you a video here with a woman named Kiana. And this discussion, I think, is 9 minutes long. It's the first of 3 videos I want to show you. And there will be 5 breaking points in the video where it's me talking, because it was just easier to put the audio there. And I think you'll really get a kick out of it. Another reason why I picked this video is I was a little concerned, at least from the very start, that showing a video where it's about religion, because we are either from religious backgrounds or we're non-believers and we have something against that. I thought this might help us be a little bit more objective and start picking up the technique more. Okay, here's Kiana.
In this short video, I initiate a conversation with a complete stranger rather than wait for one to happen organically. We spend a bit of time chit-chatting at the start of the talk to get to know each other a little better.
Hi. Do you have 5 minutes for an interview?
Sure.
All right, awesome. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm live streaming and recording. You down with that?
Yeah.
All right. My name's Anthony.
Hello, Anthony. I'm Kiana. Hi.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
You too.
Such a smiling face. Are you happy about something, or do you have good news, or you look really happy?
Well, school's out, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And you have finals next week?
Yes. I had some earlier this week, and now I have some
Okay.
today. Yeah.
May I get the spelling of your first name?
Kiana.
Kiana.
Yes.
All right, cool. Key.
After agreeing to a 5-minute talk, Kiana picks a topic she is most comfortable discussing. I try to position the chat as a non-confrontational and fun discovery.
All right, my name's Anthony, and what I do is just flag down random people walking by to ask them if they hold any deeply held belief that they want to spend 5 minutes just chatting about, and I time it for 5. And yeah, it could be about anything. Usually it's like spiritual stuff, but it could really broach any topic, like
okay.
gods, karma, magic, ghosts, that type of stuff.
Let's see.
Do you want to burn 5 minutes and just chat about something like
Yeah,
that?
would you chat
Okay.
with me, or am I just strictly talking?
I'm going to ask questions.
Okay, good.
And I want to
good.
understand why you believe it.
Okay, cool.
And it's going to be completely like non-confrontational
Okay.
and probably even
Go for
fun.
Go for it. I don't hear anything.
Time, 5 minutes, all right.
Okay.
So you can pick any topic you want.
Okay, let's go with karma.
Karma,
Yeah.
okay. Excellent.
In order to understand each other better, I encourage Kiana to define important words. Encouraging your interlocutor to provide examples and repeating concepts back to her will improve clarity and build trust.
Before we even get any further,
Okay.
how do you define it? Because I want to make sure I understand it.
Let's see. I would say, good or bad, what you do could eventually come back to you.
Okay.
Good or bad.
And that's karma.
Yeah.
Do you have a really vivid example of something that happened that you would say, karma?
Ooh. For me personally, I feel like whenever I say something mean about someone in my head, or if I speak it out in public, I'll like break out. And honestly, that's probably not why I break out, but I'll be like, karma.
Oh.
This pimple's karma.
Interesting.
Karma for being ugly.
If you don't think or say anything bad about a
No,
person.
if I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you don't say anything bad or think anything bad about a person, do you notice a difference in your complexion?
Honestly, like right now, my skin's on a good turn, and I haven't been thinking ugly thoughts. So,
Wow.
but that's just a small tidbit of something. Like if I litter,
Okay.
something bad. I have bad luck, so something bad will happen, and I'm just like, it's because I littered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were driving home, heading home, and you tossed out some trash on the road, and something bad happened to you later, you would
Attribute it to that.
you'd attribute it to that? Okay.
We next establish a scale of belief, which helps to measure progress, and I continue asking questions to help reveal how Kiana can be so confident that karma really happens.
I'm a strong believer in karma, and if I do something good,
You're really strong.
Yeah.
How sure are you that it's true? 0 to 100. 100%, all confidence, no doubt. 0%, all doubt.
I would say 82%.
82.
The two matters, yes.
What do you study here?
I study communication.
Okay. 82%
Yeah.
confident that karma is real, that it happens. Okay. Let's go to this example of you heading home,
Okay.
trash out the window. What would be an example of something happening that you would attribute to that action?
Common things that have happened to me. I either break something or,
You break a dish or something and...
yeah, break something. Something will break a nail.
Okay.
It's just little things. I'm just like, this is because I littered.
Okay. Is there a certain amount of time that can pass
Usually happens within the day.
within a 24-hour period of
Within
time?
24 hours.
You'll get karmically punished for a bad action. Wow.
Taking care not to overwhelm my conversation partner, I continue asking questions. Notice when I admit that I'm no longer following her and how I patiently listen while she clarifies things.
And I don't know. I just attribute it to those things because if you live a good life, ultimately, good things will happen to you. That's how I feel.
If you didn't litter,
If I
and you
litter.
didn't think bad things about people or call 'em names or whatever, and you were just good for the rest of your life, would you never experience bad things?
I think it all goes into my mindset as well. So if I live a good life and something bad does happen to me, I feel like I would have a better mindset towards it. Like, oh, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
okay, let me
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So if I did something bad,
Okay.
something bad happened, I would attribute it to that thing, and I'd be like, I'm not living a good life.
Yes.
But if I lived a good life and something bad happened to me, I would have a better mindset towards it. Like, it wouldn't get to me as much as if I did something bad before. Am I making any type of sense?
I think I understand.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have a better outlook on life when you do positive things.
Right. Even if something bad happens.
Even if something bad happens to you, you'll be able to handle it better. Because you're just like...
Knowing when to be quiet and listen is one of the most difficult things to do, but it is also one of the most important things when having a discussion using street epistemology.
Yet how would you know that you being good and avoiding all this, how would you know that it's not karmic punishment?
How would I know it's not? I guess it really just still goes back all into how I like my mindset. Just, I'm doing positive things, so this can't be a punishment for all the positive things I've done. It's just, things happen. I don't know, I'm
happen?
Crazy. Yeah. I'm like, am I crazy?
We have 10 seconds.
Okay.
And we can go longer if you have the time.
Okay.
How do you differentiate karmic punishment from things happen?
I think it would be just things that are just, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Oh, that is a good question. You're making me rethink my whole life. I don't know. I feel like it would just, if I did something bad and something bad happened immediately after, I feel like this has to correlate. Like, this is punishment. God's telling me don't do that again. I don't know. That was a good question. Because I'm trying to think of anything bad that's happened and I feel like I've been doing good. I usually just brush it off. Because like I said, my mindset's in a different place. If I haven't done anything wrong, I'm just like, it'll get better. It's almost like a snowball effect for me. If I do something bad and then something bad happens, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then my mindset is in such a bad place. Maybe karma is not even just something bad happening to you, but just getting you in a space that just, well, at least for me, getting you in a space that just, to make you live a better life in the end. Now I'm like, that percentage looks a little, 82%. I'm gonna stick with it.
Street epistemology is all about being respectful, sincere, and gentle. Since we established the scale of belief earlier, I'll want to revisit that before ending the talk. Always try to end on a good note and hopefully meet again.
If you have no way of telling the difference between karmic punishment and things just happening, why believe in it at all?
I guess it's just something I live by. It's gonna get me through, honestly.
Is 82% the most accurate spot to be on the confidence?
Now it isn't. Now you're gonna make me go back home and think about this, and I'm like, I need to tell him. Okay.
I'll give you a card when we're done so you can,
Okay,
we can meet
good.
again.
Because if I get it, I'm gonna be like, okay, I have it. Let's see, I would say now that I'm a little unsure, I would go with 53, because I still believe it. I'm like, where am I going with this? 53 now.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're awesome. Thanks.
You are too.
She's awesome. Love Kiana. Love Kiana. She's so great. Let me open this presentation back up. Thank you. The thing that made that talk great was her honesty. She really thought about it. And the questions were respectful and they were probing. And I gave her time to think about it. And that's tough. It's really tough to, thank you. It's very tough to, oh, goodness, go to the next slide.
Karma.
How certain are you that it's coming? 82%. You know what? I love the specificity of her number. Thank you. Okay. That was a great talk, and I loved her honesty. And if you're interested at all in that talk, she ends up coming back to me 10 minutes later, and we talk for another 10 minutes, and she lowers her confidence even more. That being said, though, and these examples I'm showing you, I'm trying to get you excited in the technique, but I want you to have realistic expectations. If it's your first time talking to a believer and you want to try to use street epistemology, don't get discouraged. I was really discouraged when I was talking to these street preachers and I thought I was being nice and reflective, and I ran into them the next week and they were out there street preaching again. I was devastated. What did I do wrong? But so if you're just going on for the first time, or you're having a conversation, you don't have to go out on the street, but if you are having these conversations, maybe for the first time just say, I'm gonna talk to a believer and try not to get upset and debate them. And just have a whole conversation where you're listening with them. You don't have to agree with them, but maybe just ask them, I'm curious why you think that's true, and just listen to them, and just end it there. Or maybe have a conversation with them and see if you can have them say, I don't know, to one of your questions. That would be good. Practice repeating back what they're telling you. They might speak for 5 minutes and say, you've been talking for a little bit, let me just try to summarize what I think you just said. Are you saying this? And just practice that. After you do this a while, you can start implementing a belief scale and see where they are and try to measure their progress and do that as well. Okay. Getting feedback is also very important. This conversation was 2.5 years in the making. I've been practicing a lot, talking to a lot of people, and getting feedback from others that are using this technique. And they were telling me, Anthony, I've been watching your videos and you're really good here, but you're really bad here. So I try to improve. So try to surround yourself with others who are using this approach and get feedback from them. We have a lot of people in the group that they won't record their conversations, but they'll share screenshots from Facebook or Twitter. And there are hundreds of people that will give them feedback and say, you did really well here, and this is where you messed up. Most importantly, though, is be yourself. What you're seeing this is just the way that I do it. You don't have to go out and do it this way. You don't have to ask these same exact questions. If you feel more comfortable mimicking it, then by all means go ahead. If it's going to get you past that nervousness and help you want to have these talks, then by all means go ahead and do it. But just try to find your own style. Okay. Now I want to show you one more video. This one's about the same duration, and this is with a believer named Jamal. I don't want to spoil it, but does anyone know what the outsider test for faith is? It's John Loftus popularized it, but it's essentially a way of questioning a believer and asking them, are you willing to apply the same level of skepticism that you have for a competing God belief to your own? And Jamal is essentially the walking version of the outsider test for faith, which made this conversation very fun.
Ma'am, do you have like 5 minutes for a quick chat? Okay. This guy looks interesting. Hey man. Dude, do you have like 5 minutes for a quick chat?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Can I live stream you and record you?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Thank you. Thanks for stopping, dude.
Yeah,
I'm Anthony.
Jamal.
Jamal,
Yeah.
can I get the spelling of that?
Yeah, Jamil.
Jamal.
Yes, sir.
Very good, okay. What I'm doing, Jamal, is just chatting with anybody randomly to see if they hold any God beliefs and why.
Okay.
Is there a particular God that you believe in? And are you comfortable spending like 5 minutes just to
Yeah.
examine why you hold the belief?
Yeah, well, my parents are actually conflicting religions. My dad practices Islam, and my mom practices Catholicism. So when I was younger, my mom wanted me to go to a Catholic school, for elementary school, for primary school. And my dad actually agreed. But some things happened, like with the initial schooling, so I ended up not going. What's our friend? And ended up not going. But my mom, would try to teach me Christian beliefs. We did Christmas, we did all that stuff. We did Easter, we celebrated Easter. But at the same time, my dad was, he wanted me to pray with him, the 3 times a day, the normal.
Do you ever do the fasting?
Prayer. Yeah, he wanted me. I did fasting with him when I was younger.
Really?
And all that. But as I got older, because they kept both pushing different, conflicting ideas and religions at me, it made it really hard for me to choose. So I still, I do believe in God. It's just when it comes to a certain religion or, I guess focus, I'm still, confused about that myself, because my dad was, having me read the Quran at the same time my mom was having me read the Bible, and they both knew that they were doing it at the same time. So I have a brother. He's going through the same thing. So
do you think that they had any idea that after exposing you to both religions that you would identify as neither one?
I think that they were both hoping that me and my brother would either identify as either or. My dad, saying, "Oh, I'm the man," and Islam, you have to follow the husband.
Are you the oldest?
Yeah, I'm the oldest. So I think they both kind of wanted us to identify as either or, but
do they know that you don't follow either or?
We haven't really talked about it, but I think that they know that me and my brother, we don't really follow either or, because my dad still asks us, do we read the Quran regularly? And sometimes we tell him yes, sometimes we tell him no, because he knows we don't pray anymore now that we're older. I mean, we go to church sometimes with our mom, not very frequently, because my dad, he doesn't really like it when we go. So they know we don't really follow one. Yeah. But I know both of them are hoping that we pick.
Do you think if you grew up in a family where both parents were Catholic, would you be Catholic?
I think I would be, yes.
If both parents were Muslims, would you be following Islam?
Yeah, because how it worked when I was growing up, they knew that my dad would know I was learning Catholicism, so he would show me the contradicting ideas and then the similar ideas. So me and my brother, we grew up understanding the differences and the similarities between both religions, and because of that, I know, it kind of makes more sense to me having to learn two at the same time, rather than one person learning Catholicism and then hating Muslims and not knowing anything about the religion at all. So
don't feel bad about politely interrupting to keep people on track or to obtain clarity. If someone shares a story with you, thank or compliment them for being open. Summarize the discussion as the talk progresses.
I think I do support both, you know what I mean? I see the views in both of them, and I do agree with both of them. So
you agree with both of them?
Yeah.
Do you think that both are correct?
That's where I'm having the struggle picking, or it's hard to tell, because they have very similar ideas at the same time, but they have very contradicting ideas, and but in both sense they make sense to different people. So if I grew up in a house for Catholicism, I would have practiced without a doubt, and then if Islam, probably the same thing. But doing both, it's very hard, which is why me and my brother, we didn't really, or haven't really picked one yet.
Sure.
As of now.
Yet you're here today, even though you've had that, and you've outlined that beautifully, by the way.
Thank you.
Yet you're holding on to a God belief still. Does this God have a name, or is it more of a nebulous God, or like what?
It's more just like, I guess, a nebulous God.
Okay. How sure are you that God exists? If 0% is I'm not confident at all, it's all doubt. 100% is all confidence and no doubt, and you could be anywhere on the scale.
I'm 100% that He's there. Yeah.
How do you know?
It's really hard to tell. My mom has a lot of stories, where she thinks she's, had God influence in her life. Little stories. She'll be crossing like an alleyway, and there's like two like really scary pit bulls that are notorious for attacking people. And then she said that there was a time when it was like in the middle of the night, and she was walking home through this alley, and like they're notorious for jumping over the fence. She grew up in the Philippines, so they're notorious for jumping over the fence and attacking people. And it was in the middle of the night, and they were barking, and she said that a dog showed up, walked her through the alley, and the dogs didn't bark at her that night. And then when she like looked down again, it was gone. And So, and I've had, a few experiences where there was this girl that I met, on a computer game, hadn't talked to in about, like, 4 years. In a computer game, online, you don't talk to someone for 4 years, you're never going to find them. It so happened that I actually ran into her on a separate forum on something else, because it was weird, because the day before, actually, I prayed to God. I was like, I really missed her. I got along with her. I really, really missed her. And I was like, somehow, some way, I'd like to talk to her again. And I ran into her. I actually ran into her again after like 4 years of not seeing her. So
I see.
I do believe in God. I believe He's there.
Do you believe in the God because you think prayer works? Because when you prayed for them, you found this long-lost friend, and then when your mother said she reached out to her God, suddenly this God protected her?
Yeah, it's that, and then, I still believe, all this stuff had to come in from somewhere, It's not like it just started. Someone had to do something.
Watch for unexpected changes in the discussion at hand. In this case, an attempt to shift gears from prayer to an argument for design. If your interlocutor attempts to change the topic or shows signs of mild discomfort with the current topic, try to stay focused on that.
So
can we focus on the prayer just maybe a little bit more?
The prayer? Yeah.
It sounds like what you're saying, and if I'm off, please correct me. But are you saying that one of the reasons why you're 100% sure that your God exists is because you feel that prayer is working when you pray for something?
Yes. But I've noticed that it works really weird, because I've prayed for stuff before and it doesn't happen, but when, I guess, I've noticed when I have a lot more feeling, because like when I prayed for the girl the one time, I did cry a little, I mean, not like cry, I didn't sob, but I did tear up, because I missed her.
Sure.
And it happened, but then, I'll pray for like something else, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna make stuff like, I'll do well on a test, and I end up not doing well on the test, but I mean, that was my fault. I could have studied more.
Okay.
But, with the girl, I couldn't, there was nothing I could do possibly to, and I really, really want to see it, so.
Why is prayer weird, though?
Because people, they pray for something, I always hear people talking about they pray for something, and then it doesn't happen, and they're like, oh, he's not listening and all this. But he is, I think that he is listening. It's just he picks and chooses the right prayers to, actually help on, and other times, like, he's helping you, you just don't realize it. Like, if someone asks for money, he's not gonna just, put $100 on the floor. He'll, someone will come up to him and be like, I have a job opportunity for you.
Sometimes prayer works and sometimes it doesn't?
Yeah, well, yeah, it really depends on, like, what you're praying for. Really.
Okay. You could pray for something and it wouldn't happen, but you wouldn't look at it as the God not existing.
Yeah.
You would just say, well, what would your response be?
It was more of like a, I guess, I don't want to say like a selfish prayer, but it was a prayer where if I didn't pray, or if I didn't, pray for it, there was something I could have done personally in my power to have, fixed the outcome myself.
Why would you pray at all then?
I guess, comfort.
Coming up, please notice how I repeat back what we've discovered. Prayer brings Jamil comfort. Also, notice the we talk. How can we test prayer together? The talk should be a partnership to find truth.
Comfort, it helped me, knowing that I was able to talk to someone, ask someone for help, even if, I didn't get the help, I still...
If a belief gives you comfort or an action gives you comfort, does it always mean that what you're asking for or who you're asking exists, or it's true, or it's real?
I guess to me, personally, I guess it would. If it did give me comfort, if I did think it was working, then yeah, it would be, there would be faith. I would believe in it. But I could see how to other people, if it wasn't doing anything, if it was just providing comfort, then it wouldn't be. But I mean...
But are you saying, there are times where you'll pray for something, you don't get it.
Yeah.
But you still pray because you feel like it gives you a sense of comfort.
Yeah.
Is there any way that we can test prayer to determine that it really works in the way that you have outlined?
I don't know, honestly. It's one of those things it's a really hard question. I don't think you can test prayer. There might be someone with, you know, a much more diverse mind than I who could come up with a test for prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, but with the knowledge I have, I honestly don't think that's the thing you could test for, you know?
You know what, Jamil, if prayer can't be tested, and prayer is one of the main reasons why you're at the 100%, but it can't be tested, is 100% the right spot to be on the confidence that the belief is true?
I guess not. It probably wouldn't be. Probably not 100%, but I mean, there are other, you know, little factors that I don't really know about, but I just, you know, to myself, I feel like, I don't know if it was, you know, all the
If there are,
teachings.
hold on, if there are other factors that you don't know, wouldn't that lend you more towards moving down on the scale than being...
Well, I mean, like, more factors as in, like, you know, the fact that, you know, my parents, like, taught me, you know, maybe
Yeah.
all the things that I
Yeah.
learned, I just have this, like, this, you know, unconscious feeling that I do 100%, you know, believe, even though I can't, you know, put a you know, pin on the fact, like, exactly what it is that makes me believe 100%.
If prayer can't be tested adequately, at least not in a way that we can identify, and you recognize that maybe 100% isn't the right spot to be, what would be a more honest position to be at on the belief scale?
More honest. Probably sit myself at maybe 60%.
Thank you very much for your time.
I chose both of those clips because there were large drops in percentages of their confidence, but also because they somewhat paralleled each other. The first one hinged on how can you differentiate things just happen from karma, and this one was more about, well, how can you differentiate you working to make something happen and a prayer coming true? This is a screenshot from the conversation with Kiana where she's thinking about it, and I love showing these little still pictures. If I was debating Kiana, more than likely I would never achieve this degree of introspection that she's doing. She's doing all this. Like she's done all the heavy lifting, but she's honestly thinking about the belief and why do I think that this is true? Oh, that's not. Oops, sorry. How'd that get in there? Sorry about that. Wasn't expecting that to be in there. Okay. Oh, that's not Jamal. I'm really sorry about this, folks. These really shouldn't be in there. That's not Jamal. Sorry. There he is. There he is. That's Jamal. So I love showing these screenshots to show the reflection that people are really thinking about the questions. And if I was not using Street Epistemology, there's no way that they would have taken the time to think about why do I hold this belief. The main point of my talk is to encourage people to at least give this a try. When you consider that the technique is effective and it's polite, there really are no excuses to at least give it a try. I know not everyone is comfortable going out and initiating talks. That's kind of weird, like going out with a camera and just chatting people. You don't have to do that. But if you're waiting in the line to get your food and the person next to you is going on about their Bible study and they want to invite you to it, engage them with a talk. Sit down with them and have dinner with them and talk to them. Or if you're waiting for a bus or a doctor's appointment. And you also want to set realistic expectations. We went over that. Set your goals very, very low to start. I'm going to have a conversation with a believer, and I'm not going to get frustrated and lash out at them. Good. Okay, you've passed your first test. And question politely. Okay, so I want to show one more video. This one's about 2 minutes long. And thanks for bearing with me, but I think it's important for you to see real encounters in action. Street Epistemology is getting attention in the atheist community largely because of groups like you inviting people like us to talk to you. And we have videos online and groups talking about it, and it's gaining momentum. but the apologists are noticing it as well. And they're getting worried because this is not a debate. We're not coming back with facts and arguments and dismantling logical fallacies and all that other stuff. Apologists have made careers writing books and giving lectures and touring the country and talking to Christians and Muslims and all those other religions to explain how to best defend their faith, their belief. Street epistemology is an end run around that, and they don't know what to do with it. They're scared. They're afraid of it because it's effective. And that's why I don't mind taking time to come to a completely different state and spend time away from my family to talk to you, because you can see it works. It's effective. It's planting that seed. It's putting the pebble in a person's shoe. And other people are noticing it. One more video.
Let me put this in perspective with another bit of research. Larry Taunton of the Fixed Point Foundation did something a couple of years ago that was very insightful. He put out a request for people who...
Let me set this up first, sorry. Okay. Okay, can you drag it over and just pause it? Okay. These two gentlemen in particular have noticed Peter Boghossian's book and given several talks, and they're actually at the podium in a church warning other apologists about street epistemology. They're concerned about it. And this clip in particular jumped out at me. I love it because they make a discovery that's quite interesting. Okay.
That they had been Christians and had deconverted and said, we'd like to talk to you. We'd like to give you a couple of hours. Just have you tell us how that happened. We're not going to try to convert you. If you don't ask us for our reasons, we'll just listen and ask clarifying questions. And so they paid them a little bit to come in, and once word got out that that was really what they were doing, they had lots of people come in. I think they had over 6.
Let me just set this up. They're discussing a study where the Christian apologists were wondering, why are we losing all these believers? They're turning into atheists. So they invited atheists to come and they interviewed them, and they're discussing the findings.
See people responding to that. Hours upon hours upon hours of taped interviews. Taunton said, we thought when we set this up that we were going to hear a lot about the new atheists, about people like Dawkins and Hitchens and Dennett and Harris. Never once in all of the hours of interviews was any one of those people ever named. Wow. Not once. Instead, it was, well, there was this blog that I was reading, or there was this YouTube video or a YouTube channel. It was all social media. Now that doesn't mean that the new atheists had nothing to do with it. They created an environment in which these kinds of social media could flourish. But that was the point of contact. That was the place that it was happening. And what that means strategically is something terribly important. It means you can't have your champion apologists going out there with the apologetic 20 gauge to take down the bear. It's not just one antagonist and one apologist standing up to it. Which would you rather fight? An angry bear or 10,000 hornets? So hornets are going to be everywhere. They're going to be places you can't be. You can be the most trained apologist in the world. You can have all of the fallacies of the God delusion mapped out in your mind, point by point. And 50 miles away, somebody is using things that aren't even arguments to undermine the faith of somebody you'll never meet.
They see it. I see it. Boghossian sees it. There are thousands of other people that see. This could be it. This could be the thing that turns the tide. Boghossian in his book calls for 10,000, he wants 10,000 street epistemologists, 10,000 people that are familiar with the techniques to start having conversations. I'm starting to think it's a low number, and that's where the 10,000 hornets come in. Be a hornet. You don't have to go out on the street, but don't shy away from having a conversation with a believer. You now have tools, or at the very least, you're exposed to tools where you can have a polite, thoughtful, respectful, loving conversation with a believer that's going to help them. So please don't shy away. There are no more excuses to not have that conversation with a believer. I call this slide Long Runway because we've been at this for 3 years, and it seems like it's taking forever. Now, those apologists mentioned the 4 horsemen. I think the 4 horsemen they've cleared the land and they've made the runway. Boghossian, I think, he's filed the flight plan with his book, A Manual for Creating Atheists. There are street epistemologists or atheists that are familiar with this technique that are going out and doing test flights, and it's working. But we need some backing. We need backing from the atheist community. We need fuel. We need a support structure to help us go and keep us going. And I think we're getting to a point where we may actually need some sort of organizational structure and maybe some financial backing to keep this going. And more importantly, perhaps, is we want to teach others about this. And that's one of the reasons why we're giving talks and recording examples. And not every example that's on YouTube is a good one. Some of them just blow up in our face, but you can still learn from that. And that's one of our goals, is to help you learn this. Okay, there's my contact information. I want to shift to the Q&A session. And how are we on time for the Q&A? I'll leave that up. Oh wow, 30 minutes. Okay. Thank you for your patience and watching all those videos and bearing with me. So yes, I'd entertain any question. If you could just keep it concise, I'll try to repeat it back so that I understand it, and then I'll answer it.
Okay, guys. So we're going to use this. Just hold it like this. Make sure it's kind of close to your mouth, and then we'll get your questions. So just raise your hand. That's the best way it'll know. I saw her the first, so I'm going to go to you, and then we're going to go from there.
Okay, I love that you're respectful and polite to these people, and I really see it come out when you're talking, or hear it in your voice. I have a problem where I get very sarcastic, and I'm just mean. But
I've never heard that before from an atheist.
I'm wondering, is there something you put in your mind when the attitude, not just to say I'm going to be polite, or because that won't work for me, but kind of, I don't know, method acting or something, where you get into a mindset.
Okay, do you have any tips for getting into the right mindset to have a conversation where you're not so sarcastic? A couple things. First, just let me say, if you don't think that this is your cup of tea, then don't do it. If you think that there's no way I'm just going to blow up on somebody and just tear them a new one, just don't have the conversation. Find other ways to support this. You can translate videos into a different language if you're familiar with that. If you're good at video editing, please do that. If you want to make, I don't know, there's no donation thing or anything like that, but think of a way that you might be able to help us out. That would be good. Or just refrain from doing it. Honestly, if you think that you're going to just slip into your angry atheist ways, that's not doing this movement any good. You can see how worried the apologists were. They want us to fight with them and look like assholes. Okay? This is working. One thing that I'll do is I'll remind myself now that there are people watching, and that helps me stay calm. Honestly, I'm even, in addition to having the camera on, I'll Periscope. I'll be live streaming and can have 40 people watching live. And if I slip out of Anthony's Street Epistemologist mode into Anthony Angry Atheist mode, they're going to let me know. So that helps. So maybe remind yourself that if you're recording it, or just think about, there might be other people just eavesdropping on my conversation and thinking that I'm a real jerk. So that might be a tip that I can give you.
Hello, there we go. So first off, I really appreciate how you talk about being helpful and kind to those you encounter. I also like that you pointed out that there are people that, I don't want to say you may not want to, but you should not use this on because their beliefs are holding them together, and they might be, it's not going to help them to not have that belief. How do you tell the difference when you're encountering a stranger? How can you tell a difference between those people who really do need this belief that you might harm in taking that belief away, and in turn then harm the society? Because some, people can be a little crazy without their beliefs.
Great question. So the question is, how do you determine when to have the conversation or not? Because some people really need to have the beliefs that they hold. Sometimes it's evident. There was one time I was interviewing a woman. She is a pagan. She believes that there's a goddess protecting her, and just her body language, her voice, she seemed fragile. And I asked her, because she believed it was true because she had a feeling that it was true. And I was pretty certain that I could ask 3 questions and she wouldn't be 100% sure that that was true. But there was something about it. So I just basically asked her, I came out and said, what impact would this have if you were to talk with me for 3 more minutes and be less confident that this goddess was protecting you? And she said it would be devastating. It wouldn't bum her out for a few days, but it would, what'd she say? I think she said it would completely devastate my life, or something along those lines, where it's like, okay, she drew the line in the sand and I backed away from it. Like, we don't want to hurt anybody, but we recognize that this could, and we want to be very careful. Interestingly though, on that one, she emailed me 30 minutes later to tell me how much she enjoyed the talk and wanted to meet again. I waited a month and did meet with her, and she was not as confident, and she was able to handle the conversation. So it's one of the reasons why I like to keep the conversations brief and give a card to somebody so that they can think about it. But there are times where it's evident. For example, an elderly family member who's on their deathbed, or somebody that's going to go into the hospital in the next week or 2 and may never come out. Somebody that's gorked out on drugs. No, don't have a conversation with them. As a hard and fast rule, sometimes it's unclear. Strangers will tell you the most personal things when you have these talks. It's one of the reasons why the talks are so fascinating. But as a general rule, I'll ask them, do you want to believe things that are true? And if they say yes, then it's usually game on and I'll have the talk. But it's always at the back of my mind, is this talk going to cause harm? Yeah. It's tricky. There's no hard and fast rule. I wish there was.
Hello.
Hello.
Wanted to ask about, since you like to talk about sincerely held beliefs and why you believe them, what was the last sincerely held belief that you had that you realized you had no good reasons to believe in?
Great question. What is the most sincerely held belief that I recently discovered that I don't have a good reason to believe in? Most recently. I hate to say this one because I gave this example like 6 months ago and I'm still doing it, and that's eating meat. I can't give a really good reason for eating meat. So that's nagging at me. Like I feel like I'm like Kiana maybe with karma. Like it's nagging at me, and I know but I'm dealing with that cognitive dissonance, and occasionally I run into somebody that challenges me on it, and I find myself lowering my confidence even more. That's probably my most recent one. The other thing I should point out is that I do run into a lot of atheists. That one of the most recent videos I posted was an atheist woman who was absolutely certain she knew there was no God. Well, that doesn't mean that I don't talk to that person. I'll have the exact same Socratic conversation of Street Epistemology with a non-believer who's certain there's no God. And by the end of that 7-minute talk, she recognized that she She couldn't be at the 0% on the scale because she was open to discovering if she was incorrect. So she moved on the scale. So this is it's an equal opportunity conversation approach.
Can you talk a little bit about your equipment, basically? Like, how are you set up? What kind of cameras are you using? How are you doing the Periscope at the same time? Like, can you talk a little bit about your setup?
Sure, I'll talk a little bit about my setup. I have a whiteboard. You probably saw that. I have a little timer, and I wear a chest-mounted GoPro, which I brought because I'm going to Reno tomorrow and hopefully do some street epistemology on campus. And then I have my cell phone that I just tuck behind the camera, and it works. It's pretty cool. Yeah. There's a video that I go into greater detail as far as the equipment that I have. Way in the back.
Hi. I talked to a couple of friends where the conversation goes to a point where they don't know exactly, they talk about some special power, but they don't nail it down, or they bring it down to a specific aspect like karma or God or a spirit. So in such cases, how do you drive the conversation to conclude something? Can you suggest something, or can you give your inputs about it?
So if I understand the question, it's when you encounter somebody that has nebulous, vague beliefs, how do you nail them down to understand what it is they exactly believe so you can have the conversation with them?
So, like, sometimes they say that it is spirit that is driving them, or it's strengthening them, but they don't know how to define it for themselves.
Okay, so if they're unable to define what the entity is or the God is, I'll just ask for examples. Can you give me an example of when you felt this entity working in your life? And that's, I don't get, definitions are important. If somebody says they use faith, one of the first things you should ask is, what is your definition of faith? Those are key. But sometimes things like God or this higher power, there are these nebulous terms, and you can spend an hour getting hung up on terms. I wouldn't recommend that. Like, just go with it. Okay, you believe that there's this higher power. Does it inform you? Is it talking to you? Are you interacting with it? Is it watching us right now? How do you know that this thing even exists? So you don't have to get so worked up onto, we must define what this thing is before we can understand why you believe it. It's so tempting to want to get caught up in the facts or the claim itself. This approach of street epistemology is all about understanding why they think it's true. So try not to fall for those distractions of the typical arguments that they'll make. I hope that helped.
Can you apply this to something like, I'm thinking of a specific example, someone who believes in something like 9/11, truther, kind of?
Yes, so the question is, can you use this for things other than God claims, like 9/11 truthers? Absolutely. There are moon landing hoaxers, flat earthers. You can even use it for things that are probably true. There's nothing wrong with having the conversation about, I mean, we obviously know that Obama was behind Benghazi, right? So, anyway, that was a joke. You guys aren't laughing. I don't really think that. But no, there's no limit to it, because it's all about an honest quest to understand truths. How do we know that that's true? So 9/11 would be great, absolutely.
Your street epistemology skills, have you really picked up on people's body language because you've done it so much? Like, I never really noticed it until I watched the videos. Did you initially not pick up on it, and then eventually you did, where enough, like, in the conversation where you would change just depending on how they move and stuff?
Okay, that's great. Yeah, good question. So I think the question is, as you keep doing this more and more, are you noticing things like body language during the conversation? Yes. Sometimes I don't notice it until after the fact, and then I'm watching it and I'm editing it, and I say, oh, You know, she never had a cold or sniffed before, but she just touched her nose, and then she made like a sniffing gesture when she was saying how much she really believed that this was true. I didn't notice it at the time, but I caught it in the video. But more often than not, I do notice it during the talk. Like they'll cross their arms, you know, or they'll start rocking back and forth. Or, you know, when you get one of these, we call it the spider on the ceiling. That's good. When you see those little things, that's typically a good sign that you're I hate to say hitting a nerve, but you're closing in on something that they're struggling with at some level, and that's what you want to focus on. Don't recognize that they're being uncomfortable and move on to something else. Like, there's nothing wrong with just saying, well, you know, you appear a little uncomfortable with that. Do you mind if we unpack that a little bit? So, yeah, it does happen. Yeah. And sometimes they're just cold. I mean, I can't put that much confidence in the body language stuff, but sometimes I see things that makes me think, I need to circle back to that because I think that was important.
How are we on time? Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Muslim.
So my question is more about the consequences, because I've had these conversations with my relatives, and I get a feeling like they don't like me around. Like they'll keep their kids away from me, kind of thing. So is it worth? Is my like? So for me, the family is important. From where I come from, is a very closely knit family, and I love those kids, right? And I get a feeling, it might not be true, but do you think that it has an effect on your relationships with people?
Okay, so I think your question is, because you are asking uncomfortable questions, is it jeopardizing relationships that you have with friends and family? Are you pushing people away from asking the questions? Possibly. But I think if you're detecting that that's happening, pull back a little bit. We know that this technique is great for things other than the God claims. My recommendation for people, I always get a question similar to this, or I have family members, or my wife believes and my kids do also, but I don't want to jeopardize those relationships. My recommendation there is to back off on the sensitive topics, but still be the person that asks these questions for safer topics. Okay, so somebody makes the claim offhandedly that red cars get more speeding tickets. Safe topic, ask your questions, and just keep doing that. Be the person that asks these questions. And hopefully, you'll be training people to critically think so that when they're alone with their thoughts, thinking about the bigger questions, they'll remember Uncle Mohsen, for example. Okay? So that'd be my suggestion there.
Last one.
Oh, we have one.
Actually, I had two, but I saw a video where you were discussing when not to interact with certain people. You had examples of like just kind of crazy people, mentally disabled, dangerous people that maybe are also mentally disabled. But where do you draw the line? Like I tried to talk with someone that was mostly there, but you could tell that there was still, you know, it was still a difficult conversation because I'd ask him about one thing and we'd be talking about karma, and all of a sudden he jumps over and he's talking about angels and stuff like that. And it was like, it was really hard to pin him down. I mean, is there any kind of guide that you know, like, where do you set the bar?
Okay, so it sounded like, was that the two?
No, the second one was...
Oh, because that sounded like two. Okay, let me just
real quick, the second one you may not be able to answer. I know Peter Boghossian was working on an app. I was wondering if you had any inside information on that. I know you talk with them sometimes.
Okay, I'll answer the app question first. Yes, it's on my iPad even. So if anyone wants to take a look at that, I'll show it to you. But they're beta testing it in a foreign country, and I think probably within a few weeks it should be available. And the cool thing about the app is, remember we were talking about you don't have to initiate conversations, but if you want to get practiced at this, you should. The app is great because it puts you in these scenarios, and you're just sitting and you're using your tablet or your phone, and you can just be, on your couch and doing it. The other question is, it kind of reflects back to what this young woman was saying. There are some believers that they'll either bounce all over the place or they seem dependent on the belief. If they're bouncing all over the place, just say, listen, let's just pick one topic. Let's not talk about God, let's just talk about prayer. And let's focus strictly on prayer. And if they deviate, then you just have to remind them of the rules. It all comes down to, do they want to believe things that are true? If they want to go through life believing true things, then I would say engage with them as best you can.
I lied. We're going to do one more.
Okay.
This guy right here.
All right, thank you. Well, first off, I want to say I love the Street Epistemology method. Like, watching your videos, like, just kind of smile, like watching them, the wheels spinning in their heads. But do you think there is a benefit to the opposite side of the spectrum of questioning believers, which would be like the David Silverman, Firebrand-esque ridicule of the ideas, not the belief. I mean, not the people, but the belief, because that's how I came out of my faith, was pretty harsh, like ridicule of exactly what was in the Bible and all that stuff. So where do you think it's appropriate to apply street epistemology versus like the firebrandy kind of questioning?
That's a great question, and I apologize for not mentioning it because that's a key thing here. So the question is, where do I stand on the other method of talking to believers, of debate and ridicule? I think it has its place. There are probably people that are in this room right now that were believers that no longer are because they watched Bill Maher or listened to Dawkins during debate or Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris tearing it apart. When you're observing it, when you're in an audience or you're watching it on YouTube and you're a believer passively watching it, I think it can change minds. But if you're in a one-on-one with your aunt, this is the way to go. And so yes, it has its place, but for large mass audiences, I think. I was just telling Fred this, I don't think I would be a confident atheist today if it wasn't for watching Hitchens and Dillahunty and the Atheist Experience. It helps me defend atheism. But if I want to have a conversation to understand why a believer is believing something that doesn't seem to comport with reality, don't debate them. That's not going to work. It's going to drive them deeper into their belief, and this is the way to go. And drawing clarity to that distinction is extremely important, so thank you for asking that question. I'm actually going to be speaking to the atheist community of Austin in June of this year. They're the engine behind the Atheist Experience with Matt Dillahunty and Russell Glasser and Tracy Harris and Jen Peoples and so on. I'm eager to get into that a little bit more and show what I think is happening, where the disconnect is happening. Because a lot of atheists will watch those and think, oh, the way that Dillahunty just crushed that Christian is exactly how I need to have that conversation with my best friend. No. But it has its place. Okay. I'm sorry, sir. We'll have to wait till afterwards, I guess. Or do you want to do one more?
All right, guys. Let's everyone.